What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the numbers. These are my full card breakdown and predictions for UFC 280. We have Islam Makhachev going against Charles Oliveira.
I need all the wins, yeah. Harder than all that is. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out.
And we are back for another full card breakdown and prediction video this week, breaking down the card of the year. I mean, this card is stacked from top to bottom, 14 fights. And I like all these fights. No complaints about any single one of them. We have a stacked main card. Sean O'Malley, Petr Yan. We got the two title fights. TJ Dillashaw, Aljamain Sterling. And of course, the fight, probably the most looked forward to fight all year, and Islam Makhachev going against Charles Oliveira. I cannot wait for it. Before we get started, if you guys can please leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you have not already. More content will be coming out through the week. And it is a pay-per-view. It is a big pay-per-view, so going to bring back the significant strike contest, give away some free money here. To enter the contest, first, leave a like on the video. Second, make sure you are subscribed. And then third, comment down how many significant strikes you think that Charles Oliveira and Islam Makhachev are going to combine for. Whoever gets first place, $25 to first. And if there is a tie, the tiebreaker does go to the person that did comment first. Another thing is, it is a great time to sign up on dfsbythenumbers.com. You see about half of what I do on YouTube. The other half is on dfsbythenumbers.com. So if you do want to support me more, or if you do want to, get extra content, the most popular option is that $10 betting tier. We also have the MMA DFS tier, $10, and then $20 for both MMA, DFS, and betting. DFS does include an optimizer as well. But yeah, that $10 betting tier, with that, you get early access to my bets, and you get the bet alerts. I do have two bets already. One bet I even placed like a month ago at this point for the main event. You get the stats that you see on my betting breakdown video on Saturday. You also get the full card and best bet article on Wednesday. It's like anywhere from 14 to 15 pages, depending on how many fights. I break down the fights. I give my pick for the winner. I give the round, the method, and then also my confidence rating. And then towards the end, I give my best bet for each and every fight. And then I put all the confidence ratings in order. And then there's another article that comes out on Friday where I am breaking down my bets personally. And then also I do a Hail Mary parlay, a prelim parlay, and then a main card parlay, and just a lot more. So if you do want to check that out, if you do want extra content, or if you just want to support me, be sure to check out dfsbythenumbers.com. All right, other than that, make sure you check out the live stream. I'm going to be going Friday for the Final Thoughts live stream, and then I'll be doing a best bet live stream either Thursday, or I might do that Friday as well, because as you may know, the Saturday card, UFC 280, is going to start like at 10 a.m. Eastern time. So you're going to have to do that on Thursday or Friday. But with all that out of the way, guys, I say we get into it. And we will start with the first fight on the card. We have Karol Rosa going against Lina Länsberg. We got Karol Rosa, who is 27 years old. She is 5'5" with a 67.5-inch reach. Karol Rosa is 15-4 and 4-1 in her last 5 fights. Lina Länsberg, she is 40 years old. Lina Länsberg is 5'7" with a 65.5-inch reach. She is 10-6 and she is 2-3 in her last 5 fights. So let's take a look at the odds as we always do. And by the way, guys, if my voice sounds different, it's because I am sick. I did get the sick once again. I don't know what's going on, but it's all good. But if I do sound different, it's because I am pretty sick. But we have Karol Rosa opening up -275. She is currently -280. Lina Länsberg opened up +235. She is currently +240. So some money has been coming in on Karol Rosa as of late. And I get why. Karol Rosa, first of all, the big elephant in the room, right? She's going to be 13 years younger than Lina Länsberg. That is absolutely significant. She will be at a height disadvantage, but she's going to have the reach advantage there. Lina Länsberg, 40 years old. She took a layoff, prior to her last fight. It was against Pannie Kianzad. It was about, a year and a half, almost a 2-year layoff. She came back. She had a pregnancy, had a baby, and she came back, and she looked solid. She looked solid. I mean, she looked a lot better than I expected. Maybe I was expecting, kind of the worst out of Lina. But she was able to, win a round against a really good striker in Pannie Kianzad. She even dropped Pannie Kianzad. So she didn't look as bad as I really thought she would. But, she's 40 years old. Karol Rosa is so much younger. Karol Rosa is so much higher volume on the feet, landing 6.65 significant strikes per minute compared to Landsberg only landing 2.74. This should be Karol Rosa all day. I mean, for Landsberg to win, she's going to have to get into the clinch. She's going to have to potentially get this fight down to the mat, and I just don't really see her having success, taking Rosa down. Just don't really see it happening. So I like Karol Rosa to win this fight, keep it upright, keep it at range, and just outpoint Lena Landsberg across 15 minutes and win probably 30-27. But give me Karol Rosa by decision here. Okay, next we have Muhammad Makhachev going against Malcolm Gordon. We have Makhachev, who is 22 years old, 5'7", with a 70-inch reach, 7-0, and 4-0 in 1 no contest in his last 5 fights. Malcolm Gordon, he is 32 years old, 5'7", with a 70-inch reach, 14-5, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds here. Makhachev is the biggest favorite on the entire card. He opened at -700, and he is currently -1,000. Malcolm Gordon opened up as a +500 favorite. He is currently +700. Some money is coming in on Makhachev. People are putting him in their parlays, and rightfully so. I think it's a phenomenal matchup for him. Malcolm Gordon is a guy, we always joke around about his chin, having one of the worst chins, if not the worst chin in the UFC. I think it's between Malcolm Gordon and Jason Witt for the worst chin. I think Jordan Wright's up there as well. But yeah, Malcolm Gordon, you go and watch his fights, and I went back and watched every single Malcolm Gordon fight I could, and you cannot find a fight where he's not just wobbling all over the place or getting completely flatlined. This guy gets hurt in pretty much every single fight he's in. That's a concern, especially when we're talking about a flyweight. He's getting knocked out a ton. He's been knocked out 4 times. He's been finished in all 5 of his losses. He's a killer be killed fighter. He just can't take a punch. Makhachev is a guy that he's known for his wrestling, and my goodness, did he ever show that off in his last fight against Charles Johnson, where he went out there and got it was like 12 takedowns against Charles Johnson, which was very impressive because Charles Johnson is no bum at all, but he went out there and took down Charles Johnson 12 times, and he went out there and controlled Charles Johnson 11 minutes and 44 seconds. Like, that's not easy to do, and I just feel like Makhachev is going to have a couple different ways to win here. It really comes down to, how does Makhachev want to win this fight? Does Makhachev want to go out there? Does he want to rush forward and take off Malcolm Gordon's head and knock him out? I think he can do that. I don't think Malcolm Gordon can take a punch. And if Makhachev is able to pressure and land a big shot, I think, although Makhachev, more so known as a wrestler and grappler, I think can absolutely knock out Malcolm Gordon. We saw, Makhachev, drop Cody Durden and hurt him very bad in his debut. Why couldn't he knock out a very, very chinny Malcolm Gordon? But I also think, an even easier path to victory even is getting this fight down to the mat. Malcolm Gordon is a black belt in BJJ, but he has been submitted before, was submitted in his debut against Amir Albazi. And on top of that, Malcolm Gordon thus far in the UFC has a 0% takedown defense. It doesn't get much worse than that. 0% takedown defense for Malcolm Gordon. This is a nightmare matchup for Malcolm Gordon. I think he's screwed on the feet, and I think Malcolm Gordon's a good striker. It's just I don't think he can take a punch. So I think he's screwed on the feet, and I think he's completely screwed on the mat. I don't think he has the best wrestling, only a 25% takedown accuracy, and it's just that 0% takedown defense in a matchup like this that is just going to give him so many problems. So, this is Makhachev. This is Makhachev all day. You don't really need me to tell you that. He's a -1,000 favorite at this point, but I think Makhachev runs through Malcolm Gordon, and I think he does it in less than 5 minutes. I think he does it in the very first round. Give me Makhachev to win by literally however he wants. But if I had to take a guess, I think Makhachev's going to go in there, make a statement, walk down Malcolm Gordon, and knock him out on the feet in the very first round. Cannot wait for this fight. And yeah, I think they're building up Makhachev, smart. He's only 22 years old. Build this guy up. Feed him, Cody Durden. Feed him Charles Johnson. Feed him Malcolm Gordon. Build this guy up. Don't rush him. He's only 7-0. I know he has a long amateur career, but just keep building this guy up. And I think it's a great showcase matchup for Muhammad Makhachev. And I think they're setting this up so he can go out there and tell people about this, show people what he's about, right? I think he makes this look pretty easy. Makhachev, first round. All right, next we have, I'm really looking forward to this fight. This card is so good. Like, this is a fight that probably one of my favorite fights on the card are like buried on the early prelims. We have Armen Petrosyan going against AJ Dobson. We have Petrosyan, who is 31 years old. He is 6'3" with a 71-inch reach, 6-2 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. AJ Dobson, he is 30 years old, 6'1" with a 76-inch reach, 6-1 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds here, and we see that Petrosyan opened up as a -210 favorite, currently -205. AJ Dobson opened up as a +180 dog. He is currently +175. And this fight is very intriguing because you go and watch Armen Petrosyan in his fights, right? Like, you will not find a fight where somebody is not trying to take him down. This guy has a striking background. The guy's striking is phenomenal, and we'll talk more about it. And you can see why people want to take him down. And they're having success with it. I mean, Armen Petrosyan has some of the worst takedown defense you will ever see. Maybe not as bad as Malcolm Gordon there with that 0%. But, Armen Petrosyan not much better at like 30% takedown defense. Like this, a gust of wind will take down Armen Petrosyan. Like, this guy's takedown defense is so bad, but his get-up game's solid, and you go and watch his fights earlier in his career, and these guys are taking him down at will, hold him against the cage, and then he's popping back up each time, and then these guys start to get tired, and then once the fight is at range, you just see a huge skill gap between Armen Petrosyan and the guys he's going against. Like, the skill gap is it's great. Like, this guy's no joke on the feet. His volume is phenomenal on the feet, and he has power in his hands and his kicks. This guy is a savage on the feet, and I think this fight is interesting because, I went and watched every fight on AJ Dobson, and I didn't see any evidence that he's going to go in here and wrestle Petrosyan. I just haven't seen it. I mean, he got a takedown on the Contender Series, but I think that was more so because his opponent was hurt bad. I just don't know if Dobson's going to try to take down Petrosyan or if he even has that, in his game. But yeah, Petrosyan's striking is phenomenal. I mean, we know how good Gregory Rodriguez is. Gregory Rodriguez has been on a roll, knocking out Julian Marquez in the first round. Like, that's not easy to do. Knocking out Chidi Njokuani, showing a lot of toughness in that fight, eating that flying knee in the first couple seconds, right? In that Gregory Rodriguez fight, Armen Petrosyan, put on a striking clinic, outlanding Gregory Rodriguez 127-61, doubling up the strikes of a phenomenal striker in Gregory Rodriguez. That just goes to show the level of striking that Armen Petrosyan has. If AJ Dobson does not take this fight down to the mat, I think he's in trouble. AJ Dobson, he's an exciting fighter. He goes after it, and he gets after it fast. He hits very hard, and he's going to try to knock out Armen Petrosyan in the first round. But, good luck doing that. Good luck knocking out Petrosyan. I will say Petrosyan has been knocked out before, and it has been in the first round. So, Dobson will have the path, but I just think Petrosyan is just going to be levels above in terms of the striking, and I think if Dobson wrestles, he'll have success. But, will Dobson be able to wrestle for 15 minutes? Because like I said, a lot of times we see these guys have success against Petrosyan and start to slow down, and, Dobson strikes me as a guy that I just don't see him wrestling for 15 minutes, and quite frankly, I don't really see him trying to wrestle in general here. I just haven't seen it. I haven't seen the evidence of that. So I think it's a good matchup for Petrosyan. He's going to have to weather that early storm of Dobson. Dobson's going to bring it. He hits very hard, and maybe he can knock out Petrosyan. But as the fight goes on, I think it heavily favors Petrosyan, who has a very good gas tank, who can keep up that output into the second to the third round, and can keep that power into the second and third round as well. So give me Armen Petrosyan to weather that early storm, get into the second round, and I think it finishes Dobson in that second round by knockout. Cannot wait for this fight. I think it's one of the better fights on the card, and like I said, it's buried on these early prelims. All right, next we have, this is probably one of the toughest fights to call on the card for me. It's a fight that, this is probably my least favorite fight on the card, and it doesn't mean it's a bad fight, but it's a tough one. We have Abubakar Nurmagomedov going against Gadzhi Omargadzhiev. We have Nurmagomedov, 32 years old, 5'11", with a 73-inch reach, 16-3-1, and 2-2-1 in his last 5 fights. Gadzhi Omargadzhiev, he is 29 years old. He is 6'1", with a 71.5-inch reach, 13-1, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. So we'll take a look at the odds here. And we have Abubakar Nurmagomedov opening up minus 180, currently minus 178. Omar Gadzhiev opening up plus 155. He is currently plus 153. And I just don't know what to do with this fight. Abubakar Nurmagomedov, this guy just barely fights at all. I mean, we take a look at some of his last fights. He fought Jared Gooden a year and 5 months ago. Prior to that, he made his debut against David Zawada. That was almost 3 years ago. I mean, this guy has, 2 fights in like the last 3 or so years? It's just super, super inactive. So I don't like that. Another thing I don't like about Nurmagomedov is he's notorious for dropping the ball. He was a massive favorite against David Zawada. He was a massive favorite against Kush here in a fight where he got dropped and then finished by submission, I believe, in the second round. So just notorious for being inactive and notorious for completely dropping the ball. And here we see him as another favorite here. And the thing with, Omar Gadzhiev is you go and watch this guy outside of that debut. And, I don't know what it is. With some fighters, like, they come in, they make their debut, and they just look nothing like they did outside the UFC on the contenders. Like, these guys look completely different. For example, like Tyler Santos, she made her debut against Mara Morella Borralho, and she looked like a complete bum. She got beat by Borralho. But since then, she started to put it together. I'm wondering if, Omar Gadzhiev kind of had an off night, because you go and watch this guy like every other fight. It's impressive, and maybe it's a level of competition thing, because I don't think he's fought the best competition in the world, but his striking looks solid, his wrestling looks solid, his grappling, the cardio looks good. He went out there on the Contender Series, got a knee bar win in the first round, and I like what I see from the guy, and the guy had some hype coming into the UFC. He went and fought Caio Borralho, and not sure what the odds were, but they were close. They were close in that fight. But, Caio went out there and just dominated him. Gadzhi had nothing. He showed nothing in that fight. And I think people are really down on Gadzhi, but I just think we have not seen the best version of him. And I think the best version might show up here, or at least a much better version that showed up in the Caio fight. Like, Gadzhi looked off in that fight. Maybe it was because, Caio is a complete beast, and I think that could be the case. But I don't know, he looked off. This is a tough fight to call, because I think on the feet it's close. I actually, Nurmagomedov striking looked much in like the career best against Jared Gooden. His striking really impressed me. In that Gooden fight, he only went for like one takedown. He was 1 for 6. His striking looked good. I guess I would favor Nurmagomedov in the striking, but Gadzhi's the more dangerous striker, has more power. I'm curious to see if Gadzhi's able to get down Nurmagomedov, because I went and tried to watch a ton of fights of Nurmagomedov. A lot of times people aren't trying to take him down, but I have seen him taken down here or there. I'm curious to see what happens if Gadzhi does get on top of Nurmagomedov. But yeah, I don't trust the cardio of Nurmagomedov. In some fights, he's slowing down. He's looking really tired. This is a tough fight to call. I think I'm going to side with the dog here in Omar Gadzhiev. I think, Nurmagomedov is going to make a mistake here, like he does. He's been submitted twice. He got submitted in his debut against Zawada. He's been knocked out. He's been hurt. And I think Omar Gadzhiev is dangerous both on the feet and on the mat. So I'm going to say Omar Gadzhiev catches Nurmagomedov in something. I'm going to say he catches him in a submission, maybe a club and sub, maybe something off his back. But I just don't trust Abubakar Nurmagomedov as a favorite here. So yeah, give me the dog and Omar Gadzhiev to kind of redeem himself from that debut against Caio Borralho. And I think he gets back on track here with the win against Abubakar Nurmagomedov. Tough fight to call, but I think it should be an interesting one. All right, next we have the 1-800 Gambler fight of the card. We have one each card, and this is it for this card. We have Magomed Mustafaev going against Yamato Nishikawa. We have Magomed Mustafaev, who is 34 years old, 5'8", with a 71-inch reach, 14-4 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Yamato Nishikawa, he is 19 years old, 5'7", 21-3-6. And 5-0 in his last 5 fights. There's so much to talk about in this fight. There's so much to talk. Let's start with let's start with Mustafaev. So Mustafaev, the big thing here with him, he's a good fighter. I mean, he went out there, he knocked down Rafael Fiziev. He hurt him bad early on, and then he ended up spinning back kick right to the face of Fiziev, knocked him out bad. And that was like 3 years in 5 months ago. 3 years and 5 months ago. It doesn't even feel like it was that long, but it was. My goodness. His last fight was literally 2 years and 7 months ago. And again, that fight doesn't feel like it was that long ago, but it was a long time ago. Like, this guy never fights. He never, ever, ever fight. I mean, look at this. Kevin Lee, 3 fights ago, 5 years and 10 months ago. I don't even think I had my channel, 5 years and 10 months ago. Before that, Joe Proctor, 6 years, and this guy never fights. I'd be surprised if he even shows up Saturday. So I'm not even sure if this fight's going to happen because this guy never fights. Look at that. 3 fights in the last 5 years, 6 years, only 3 fights to show for it. So that's sketchy, but he's good. He's a good fighter. He's well-rounded. We went out there against Brad Riddell, got like 8 takedowns. He shut off his striking against Rafael Fiziev. He's dangerous. He has a ton of power, and he gets after it, but he never fights. So, we'll have to see, but he's going against Yamato Nishikawa, who does fight. This guy has 30 fights. 30 fights, and he's only 19 years old. This guy was fighting at 13 years old. 13, 14 years old, this guy was fighting. And I went back and watched this guy's fights, and, when you're watching, you got to kind of remind yourself, like you're watching a 15, 16-year-old in these fights, and he looks good. It's just the level of competition is very, very subpar, and it's going to be the toughest test of his career by a mile. Yamato, I think he's solid everywhere. He's just so young. And this is going to be like a big test. And we see that, the odds are very wide. You can't be laying this price though on Mustafaev, a guy that is so inactive, but he opened up minus 800. He's currently minus 550. Yamato opened up plus 550, is currently plus 400. I think Mustafaev starches Yamato. I think we're going to see a big level difference, but, Mustafaev needs to show up for that to happen. I'm just not convinced he even shows up, so we'll see. But if he does show up, I think he starches Yamato in the first round. I guess some things that do concern me from the Mustafaev side, especially when you're talking about laying like minus 550, is the 23% takedown defense. Yamato has shown to mix in takedowns here or there, but Yamato has also shown a pretty poor takedown defense as well, where guys are able to take him down. I also don't think that Yamato has the best cardio as well. And then in terms of the striking, I think Yamato's striking solid. It's just Mustafaev's going to be the much, much better striker, and he's super dangerous. Mustafaev, a 100% finish rate, and Yamato has been finished, I think, in all 3 losses. I can double check here, but I believe he's been knocked out twice. One might have been like an injury or like a cut stoppage. So Yamato has been knocked out twice. Never been submitted, but knocked out twice. I think gets knocked out here by Mustafaev. Give me Mustafaev to hopefully show up and knock this guy out in the very, very first round. Should be a very fun and exciting fight for as long as it lasts, because all Mustafaev fights are pretty fun and exciting, but we just never get to see him. So give me Mustafaev to win. Mustafaev first round knockout. All right, this is an interesting matchup here. We have Zubaira Tukhugov going against Lucas Almeida. And it's interesting because we have a very, I don't want to say boring fighter, but a guy that likes to go out there and you kind of slow the fight down and just, win minutes. And that's Tukhugov going against a very fun and exciting fighter who does not like to go out there and to win minutes. He likes to win moments, and he likes to win inside the distance. That is Lucas Almeida with that 100% finish rate. But Tukhugov, he is 31 years old, 5'8", with a 68-inch reach, 25-1. In 2-2-1 in his last 5 fights. Lucas Almeida, 31 years old, 5'11", with a 71-inch reach, 14-1, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds here. Zubaira Tukhugov, he is a favorite. He opened up as a plus 130 dog. He's currently minus 158 favorite. Lucas Almeida opened up minus 150. He is currently plus 138. The odds kind of flipping there from the open. And it's a frustrating fight for me because I really like Lucas Almeida. I'm not a big fan of Tukhugov. I'm not sure if Tukhugov has any fans at this point, just because of his style. But I like Almeida's style. I mean, this guy's fun. I remember I had a nice bet on him in his last fight against Mike Trizano. Went out there, dropped Trizano bad. Eventually finished him in the 3rd round. I mean, the guy goes for it. 100% finish rate, tons of power. This guy's an exciting fighter. He, from start to finish. He's going out there and he's trying to take your head off, and I love this guy. The problem is, this is a tough matchup. This is a tough matchup for Lucas Almeida. Tukhugov, he has the path to victory to win here, and he's going to take that path to victory, and that path to victory is going to make this fight boring. He's going to push Almeida against the cage. He's going to take him down, and he's going to rinse and repeat for 15 minutes. So yeah, I could really see Tukhugov having upwards of 10 minutes of control time in this fight, kind of how he did against Lerone Murphy. Was able to control him a lot. I can see him taking down and controlling Lucas Almeida here a lot. But when it's on the feet, it's going to be interesting. It's just I don't think that Tukhugov's going to want to strike with Almeida. Like, why would he? Why would he risk getting knocked out? Another thing that kind of makes me lean towards the Tukhugov side is the fact that he has not been knocked out in the UFC. He's not been knocked down, I don't believe, maybe once. But I know for a fact he's never been knocked out in the UFC, as one knockout loss does come, prior to the UFC. And yeah, I just think he takes the path of least resistance. That path is going to be taking down and controlling Almeida, making it boring. But I'll be rooting for Almeida, but I just don't think he's going to get a lot of opportunities to find that finish. So give me Tukhugov to win. Tukhugov to win this one by decision. And yeah, should be an interesting fight. You got a boring fighter in Tukhugov and an exciting fighter with Almeida. Something is going to have to give here. All right, moving on to the next fight. We got Volkan Oezdemir going against Nikita Krylov. We have Krylov, who is 30 years old, 6'3", with a 77.5-inch reach. He is 28-9 and 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Volkan Oezdemir, he is 33 years old, 6'2", with a 75-inch reach, 18-6 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds here. Krylov is a favorite, opening up -187, currently -171. Oezdemir opened up +162. He is currently +146. And yeah, I like this fight a lot. Volkan Oezdemir was able to go out there in his last fight against Paul Craig, win a decision. He was actually the first person to beat Paul Craig by decision, which I don't know. He looked off in that fight. He looked off, and I had a bet on Oezdemir, and I'm like, what are you doing? Why aren't you knocking this guy out? And of course, Paul Craig was flopping to his back and all that, but on the feet, I thought he would have had more success against Paul Craig, but it was actually Paul Craig who was weirdly having success against Volkan Oezdemir at points. I'm like, what's going on? I don't think Oezdemir looked good in his last fight. I did not think he looked good at all, and he's getting up there in age a little bit, 33 years old, but he just looked off. He looked off, so maybe that was, I don't know, but I thought he should have very well starched Paul Craig, but he kind of let Paul Craig kind of in the fight, having some moments on the feet, which it was just weird. If he shows up and looks like that against Krylov, I think Krylov takes off his head. Krylov in his last fight went out there just balls to the wall from the start against Gus. Hurt him bad in the first couple seconds of that fight. Dropped him. Gus was able to recover and then just completely flatlined him, mid-first round. I mean, he went out there and looked for that finish early, and that's kind of how he fights a lot of times. This guy's a finisher. Nikita Krylov, 28 wins, I believe all but one. Coming inside, he has 27 wins inside the distance. He's dangerous on the mat. He's dangerous on the feet. And we see that Oezdemir, he has been submitted a couple times. He's been knocked out a couple times. Oezdemir's been knocked out twice. Most recently was against Jiří Procházka, and then he also has been submitted twice. And then most recently for that was Anthony Smith. So I feel like, Krylov kind of has, multiple paths here. I feel like on the feet, if he can come forward like he did in the Gus fight, pressure Oezdemir, for one, I think this fight's going to be exciting, and two, I think somebody's, getting knocked out here. I think Krylov could potentially knock out Oezdemir. I think vice versa, Oezdemir could potentially knock out Krylov if, Krylov, runs forward and tries to stand and bang with him. But I also think Krylov can potentially take this fight down to the mat. And I know, Oezdemir does have some very solid takedown defense, but, if Krylov is able to get this fight down to the mat at any point, Oezdemir has struggled on the mat before, and Krylov is very dangerous there. Very good ground and pound in Krylov, and a sneaky submission game. I believe 4 submissions in the UFC for Krylov as well. So I just feel like Krylov has more paths to victory here. I feel like he could win by knockout. I feel like he could win by submission. And I just did not like how Oezdemir looked in his last fight. He looked off against Paul Craig, of all people. Paul Craig on the feet was having success against this guy at times. If that's happening, I think Krylov can absolutely go out there and knock him out. So I'm kind of debating between the sub or the knockout here. I feel like either could happen, but I'll say a knockout for Nikita Krylov here. But I do think somebody is getting finished in this one. Give me Krylov to win. Krylov to win by, I'll say, first round knockout. All right, we're going to keep moving on here up the card. We have Makhmud Muradov going against Caio Borralho. We have Caio who is 29 years old, 5'10", with a 75-inch reach. He is 12-1 and 5-1 in his last 5 fights. We have Makhmud Muradov. He is 32 years old. He is 6'2" with a 75-inch reach. He is 18-6 and he is 3-2 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds here, and we see that Caio opened up as a -200 favorite. He's currently -200. Muradov opened up +170. He is currently +170. So I guess the thing I like about Caio the most is the fight IQ. I think this guy's fight IQ is next level. He is a guy that doesn't care if he makes it a boring fight. He doesn't care if he has to take the path of least resistance. He goes out there and just does what it takes to win. And, he showed that off in his last fight against Armen Petrosian, where, what should you do against Armen Petrosian? And the answer to that is take him down. And what did Caio do? The answer to that is he took him down. He took him down at will. He took him down for 15 minutes, just showing phenomenal fight IQ. He did not strike with Armen Petrosian, which is smart. I think he does the exact same here. Makhmud Muradov, this guy's a very good striker. This guy has a ton of volume on the feet, a ton of power. This guy's striking's legit. But we saw him get submitted in this fight against Gerald Meerschaert. And not only that, he's been submitted 4 times in his career. So the ground game is a big question mark for, Makhmud Muradov. And in the UFC, he's done a good job for the most part in terms of stuffing the takedowns. But, Gerald Meerschaert was able to take this guy down 3 times, which, Gerald Meerschaert is a phenomenal grappler. Don't get me wrong, but, Meerschaert does not have the best wrestling. So seeing Meerschaert kind of take down Muradov that easy was kind of weird to me. If Meerschaert's able to get you down that easy, I think Caio should absolutely be able to do the same thing. And as we know, Caio is a black belt and a very intelligent grappler. He is position. He's the definition of position over submission, and he showed that off in the Gadzhi fight in his debut, and he showed that off in the Armen fight. There's multiple times where I thought that he could have went out there and submitted Armen Petrosian if he really wanted to. Petrosian showed some good submission defense, but it was mostly just Caio fighting smart, keeping that top position. And I think he does the same thing here. I think he, can hang in the striking. You have to favor Muradov in the striking, though. Muradov is absolutely the better striker here, but Caio's a good striker in his own right. I think he can hang. I just think the path to victory is there. Take this fight down to the mat. Caio has the cardio to do it. He has the fight IQ. He has the game plan to do it. Muradov slowed down bad in that Meerschaert. Meerschaert broke him. Muradov was gassed in the early second round, late first even. He looked tired. So I think Caio absolutely has the cardio, the fight IQ, the game plan to go out there, take this guy down, rinse and repeat, fight smart, slow down the fight, and ultimately win a decision, if not get a submission along the way. Because like I said, Caio being that black belt, and Muradov's been submitted a ton, 4 times. So don't want to completely roll out a submission here, but Caio's more than content to just go out there, win minutes, and win a decision. So I'll say decision for Caio. I think it's a good matchup for him if he fights smart, and I can trust him to fight smart as well. So give me Caio to win. I'll take him to win by decision. All right, next we have, this is probably the people's main event. This is probably the fight that is going to be talked about, debated the most, because it's a closely lined fight. I think it's one of the closest lined fights on the entire card, if not the closest lined fight on the entire card. And it just shows you how stacked this card is, because this is a prelim. This fight could be the main event of a fight night. I would rather watch this fight than the Grasso Ariuja fight, right? This could be a main event of a fight night card, right? And it's a prelim. Just goes to show how stacked UFC 280 is. But we have Sean Brady, Belal Muhammad. Sean Brady is 29 years old, 5'10", with a 72.5-inch reach, 15-0, 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Belal Muhammad, 29 years old, 5'11", with a 72-inch reach, 21-3. And 4-0 no contest in his last 5 fights. Let's take a look at these odds. They are close. Like I mentioned, Belal Muhammad opened up, has a -225 favorite, which is very interesting. And he's currently +120. Sean Brady opened up +190. He is currently -140. So some money instantly came in on Sean Brady, rightfully so. There's a lot of hype on this guy. He's undefeated, 15-0. But Sean Brady is going to be taking a step up in competition here. I mean, this is, Belal Muhammad. I'm not the biggest fan of the guy, but he's a good fighter. He's a very good fighter. Belal Muhammad has fought the much better competition here. Belal Muhammad's, beating guys like Vicente Luque. Phenomenal win there across 5 rounds. Beating Stephen Thompson. Beating Damian Maia. Beating, very good guys throughout his career. Beating Randy Brown, guys like that. Tim Means back in the day. He has some very good wins, whereas, Sean Brady, slowly working his way up, beating Court McGee in a fight that we'll talk about a little bit more, but, a little bit closer than you'd like to see. Sean Brady winning the first, second, and third close. Beating Ismail Nardiev, who's no longer in the UFC. Beating Christian Aguilera, who I don't think is UFC caliber, and I think he's not in the UFC anymore. And then beating Jake Matthews, solid win. And then beating Michael Chiesa was his best win. And that was an impressive fight. I was not expecting Sean Brady to be able to go out there and take down Michael Chiesa 5 times, because nobody's been able to take down Michael Chiesa 5 times before. I think the most Michael Chiesa had been taken down prior to that Brady fight was like twice at the most. And Brady went out there and he took down Chiesa 5 times. So that, impressed me a ton. But, the concern I have here for Sean Brady is he going to be able to take down Belal Muhammad, who has some of the best, if not the best, takedown defense in the division? Like, Belal Muhammad's takedown defense is no joke. 91% takedown defense for Belal Muhammad. This guy's takedown defense is phenomenal. Phenomenal takedown defense. So is Sean Brady going to be able to take down Belal Muhammad? I'm not sure, and that's what makes this fight so tough to call. Is Belal Muhammad going to be able to take down Sean Brady? Again, I'm not sure. Sean Brady, his takedown defense is phenomenal. Both these guys have phenomenal takedown defense. Sean Brady's takedown defense sitting at 87%. We saw Michael Chiesa was able to get down Sean Brady, and it was interesting. Chiesa only shot 1 takedown in that Brady fight. I thought that Chiesa fight would answer a lot more questions about the takedown defense of Sean Brady, but no questions really answered, because Chiesa only shot 1 takedown, and to be fair, he did get that takedown, but that was late in the 3rd round when Sean Brady was tired. So other than that, Jake Matthews in that fight didn't shoot a takedown. Christian Aguilera in the Brady fight didn't shoot a takedown. Ismail Nardiev in their fight, he shot 1 takedown. He was 0 for 1. So, guys aren't really shooting takedowns on Sean Brady. So on paper, his takedown defense says at 87%. How good really is his takedown defense? And we just don't know. There's still a question mark there. So I don't know. Will Belal Muhammad be able to take down Sean Brady? We'll have to find out. But, if this fight does play out in the striking, I like Belal here a lot. I know it's probably going to be a hot take. I know people really like Brady. I just don't think Brady has the best striking. I mean, you just go watch the Chiesa fight and go watch the Court McGee fight. Sean Brady knocked down Court McGee in the 1st round. That was great. But in the 2nd round, Court McGee outstriking Sean Brady 38-33. In the 3rd round, Court McGee outstriking Sean Brady 52-42. And then, the Chiesa fight, wasn't a good look for me, to be honest. Chiesa, known for his grappling, went out there and was having success in the striking against Sean Brady. And once that 3rd round hit, Chiesa was beating the crap out of Brady on the feet. Brady was very tired once that 3rd round hit. And if there was 2 more rounds, Chiesa would have probably finished Brady in that 4th. But yeah, I like the striking of Belal. I like the volume of Belal. This guy throws a ton of volume, landing 4.31 significant strikes on the feet. I love the cardio of Belal as well. I kind of question the cardio of Brady a little bit. He slowed down bad in the Chiesa fight, slowed down a bit in the Court McGee fight as well, and Belal does not slow down. So it's a close fight. It's a tough fight to call. I think this fight could go either way. I think hopefully we'll get some questions answered on the takedown defense of Brady. I want to see how good is it, because I thought I would figure that out in the Chiesa fight, but Chiesa did not shoot takedowns. I think Belal will try to take down Brady. Will he have success? We'll have to see, but I'm going to lean with Belal here. I think Belal is going to have success in the striking. I think in the 1st round, Brady might even take it. But as the fight goes on, I like the cardio, the pressure, the pace of Belal Muhammad, and I think he wins this one by decision. So give me Belal Muhammad to pull off the upset, and give me Belal Muhammad to win this one by decision. All right, we are on the main card. If you guys want to hit the like button, make sure you do so right now. Subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. We're about to talk about this fire main card, starting with Manon Fiorot going against Katlyn Chookagian. Fiorot is 32 years old, 5'7" with a 66-inch reach, 9-1, and 5-0 in her last 5 fights. Katlyn Chookagian, 33 years old, 5'9" with a 68-inch reach, 18-4. And 4-1 in her last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds here. Manon Fiorot opened up -175, currently -225. Katlyn Chookagian opened up +150. She is currently +190. And yeah, I'm a big fan of Manon Fiorot, but we can't ignore how good Katlyn Chookagian has been looking as of late. 33 years old, about to be 34. Manon Fiorot, not much younger, 32 years old, about to be 33 there. But yeah, Katlyn Chookagian's been looking really good. Her striking has been looking on point. She's improved her grappling. She's now a brown belt. She's been looking solid, but this is a tough matchup for Katlyn, I believe. Like, on the feet, Manon Fiorot reminds me a lot of Katlyn Chookagian just because, she's going to go out there and she's going to throw a ton of volume. But, Katlyn Chookagian, when you take a look at her striking, it's a lot of missing. That's kind of what she's been known for throughout her career. A lot of, punching air. Probably one of the best air punchers in the UFC. 35% striking accuracy for Katlyn Chookagian. Like, tons of missing. But, as we always talk about, she's making those noises. So the judges who are blind, they are hearing those noises from Chookagian, and I think they're scoring a lot of the fights for her because the judges, they're blind, they can't see the fights, and they're hearing these Chookagian noises. So the strikes that aren't really landing, the judges in their mind, they think they're landing, but because Katlyn Chookagian is missing a ton. Like, a lot of these shots, they're not even close. Whereas Manon, she is landing, and she is throwing a lot more volume. And unlike Chookagian, Manon, when she does land, she lands with power, a ton of power. So I think the power difference on the feet is night and day. I think the volume, in terms of the numbers, although I think Chookagian's going to be doing a lot of missing, they'll still count those significant strikes for Chookagian. I think the numbers will be close, but the power of Manon will be the difference here on the feet. And on top of that, I think Manon has a very sneaky path to victory. And that path to victory is taking this fight down to the mat. What stuck out to me, watching the tape on Manon Fiorot, was the fact that she went out there in her last fight. Not only her last fight, we'll talk about the other one. In her last fight against Jennifer Maia, black belt, Jennifer Maia. What do you not want to do against Jennifer Maia? You don't want to go to the mat with her. What did Manon Fiorot do? She took down Jennifer Maia twice, easily, was able to get on top, was able to win some minutes on top. I mean, that's impressive to me. On top of that, she took down Mauro Bueno Silva twice in a fight where she was destroying Silva on the feet. She had no reason to take down Silva, and she took down Mauro Bueno Silva twice. What is Mauro Bueno Silva good at? She's good at one thing and one thing only, and that one thing is winning by armbar from guard. And Manon Fiorot went right to the mat with her, no problem. So Manon Fiorot has shown really good wrestling ability to get it down to the mat, really good grappling defense, good control. Why can't, if you're taking down a black belt in Jennifer Maia, an armbar specialist in Mauro Bueno Silva, why can't you take down Katlyn Chookagian, who has a 54% takedown defense? So I think Manon Fiorot has multiple paths to victory here. I think on the feet, she has the power advantage, the volume advantage, the shots that are actually going to be landing, the more impactful shots. And then I think on the mat, she's going to get this down to the mat and take down Chookagian and win minutes that way. She's very smart. She's a very smart fighter, and I think she can take down Chookagian whenever she wants. We saw Amanda Ribas take down Chookagian 3 times. That's terrifying. That's terrifying because Amanda Ribas is a fighter that fights at 115. She was coming up a weight class. Chookagian had a massive size advantage. Chookagian had a 6-inch height advantage on her, and Amanda Ribas, little Amanda Ribas, was able to take down Katlyn Chookagian 3 times. I mean, so if Fiorot wants to take down Chookagian, she can do it, and she can do it whenever she wants. So yeah, I like Fiorot here quite a bit. I like her to win by decision. I don't really see a finish in this fight, but if there is a finish, it's most definitely coming from the Fiorot side. So I'm going to take decision, Manon Fiorot, mixing in the takedowns and landing the more impactful shots. Cannot wait for this fight. All right, we have a couple fights left. We got Beneil Dariush going against Mateusz Gamrot. We have Gamrot, who is 31 years old, 5'10" with a 70.5-inch reach, 21-1, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Beneil Dariush, he is 33 years old, 5'10", 21-4-1, and he is 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Beneil Dariush coming off of an injury, coming off a little bit of a layoff. It's been a year and 4 months since he last beat Tony Ferguson. Great performance there for Beneil Dariush, but he did get a very bad injury, but glad to see him back now. We'll take a look at the odds here. We see that Gamrot opened up -155, currently -185. Dariush opened up +135, currently +160. So yeah, this is a step up in competition for Gamrot. Gamrot is taking a big step up in terms of the rankings here, right? Dariush, as far as I'm concerned, is ranked like 6th in the lightweight division. So this is a big fight for Gamrot to see if he really belongs here, and I think he absolutely does. This is a guy that's 21-1. Arguably 22-0. I really thought he beat Guram Kudrtladze. It was a close-ish fight. Even Kudrtladze thought that Gamrot won the fight, though, which was very interesting. But yeah, he should probably be 22-0. But yeah, Beneil Dariush has been on a roll, though. Beating Frank Camacho by sub, Jakar Close, Scott Holtzman, Diego Ferreira, great win there. Tony Ferguson, I mean, he's been looking very good. But yeah, had a little bit of layoff, an injury, so that's kind of something to talk about. But these guys kind of match up pretty similar. Both guys have very solid striking. Beneil Dariush's striking is very good. I know he's known as a grappler, a legit black belt, but yeah, Beneil Dariush's striking is very good. As is Gamrot's. Gamrot has, a lot of volume, very sneaky, deceptive power as well, does Gamrot. Both guys have solid wrestling, solid ability to get it down to the mat, and both guys have really good grappling. I think you got to give the wrestling advantage to Gamrot, the pure grappling advantage to Beneil Dariush. The guy's one of the best grapplers in the division, and then in terms of the striking, I think it's competitive, but you probably got to favor Gamrot there. The thing I don't like about Beneil Dariush is the chin. The chin scares me because he's been knocked out a lot. 4 losses, all 4 of those coming inside the distance, and 3 of those coming by knockout. And there's been some fights where, like the Close fight, like he was hurt bad by Jakar Close. Close kind of rushed in and got caught. So the chin kind of concerns me in a fight where I think a lot of this fight, I know people are expecting it to play out on the mat a lot. I don't know. I kind of see it playing out on the feet a lot because I think, Gamrot can mix in takedowns here or there. I don't see Dariush taking down. I just don't see it. I don't see him taking down Gamrot. I think if this fight does hit the mat, it is going to be because of Gamrot taking it down to the mat. I think Gamrot can kind of dictate where this fight takes place, and I think on the feet, he will have success here. I like the volume of Gamrot. I like the power of Gamrot, and I just don't like the chin of Dariush. I think this fight can play out close. I think Dariush's striking super underrated. But I just think at some point, Dariush is going to get caught. I think it's going to be a very fun fight, but I just don't trust the chin of Dariush. I think Gamrot knocks him out and moves up these rankings. So I like Gamrot here. Are the odds, kind of wide? Probably. But I think Gamrot does eventually, touch the chin of Dariush here and puts him out at some point in this fight. So I'll say Gamrot wins. Gamrot wins by knockout. I'll say second round. All right, if the Brady Magomed fight was not the people's main event, then this one probably is. We have Petr Yan going against Sean O'Malley. We have Petr Yan, 29 years old, 5'7", with a 67-inch reach. 16-3, there we go, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Sean O'Malley, 27 years old, 5'11", with a 72-inch reach, 15-1, and 3-1 no contest in his last 5 fights. So we'll take a look at the odds here. Petr Yan, decent-sized favorite. Opening at -250, currently -270. Sean O'Malley opening at +210, currently +230. And this is going to be a gigantic, massive step up in competition for Sean O'Malley. Like, Petr Yan is one of the best guys in the division. Sean O'Malley, is going from guys like Chris Moutinho, who's cut, should have never even been in the UFC. Thomas Almeida, who's cut. Eddie Weiland, who I think retired. Jose Quinones, who's cut. Andrei Sukhantov, who's cut. He lost to Marlon. The one step up he took, he lost to Marlon Vera inside the distance in the first round. He knocked out Rolian Paiva. I think Paiva's still in the UFC, so that was solid. That was solid. I'm pretty sure Paiva's still in the UFC. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe he's cut too. And then he took another step up against Pedro Munoz, and he lost that first round on 2 of the 3 judges' scorecards. I don't know, which was weird because I had a ton of confidence in O'Malley in that fight. I thought that was a great matchup for him, but it kind of started very slow, and Pedro Munoz was able to out-volume Sean O'Malley in that first round, and the second round comes around, and of course that eye poke. But this is a big step up. Like, I think the UFC has done O'Malley a lot of favors, giving him a striker in Pedro Munoz, giving him a strike. I know Paiva has a black belt, but he doesn't use it. A striker in Paiva, a striker in Matinho, a striker in Almeida, a striker in Wineland. I know Wineland has a black belt, but he doesn't use it. A striker in Quinones, when's the last time somebody tried to take down Sean O'Malley? And the answer to that was like Andrei Sukumtov back in 2018. So the UFC has done O'Malley a ton of favors. And now he's going against Petr Yan, who I think can mix in the takedowns. No problem. We saw Petr Yan get 7 takedowns against Aljamain Sterling in their first fight. I think he can mix in takedowns here, have success on the map. But even on the feet, I think Petr Yan just pressing forward, throwing a ton of volume. I think, Petr has a ton of power as well. I mean, the amount of knockdowns this guy has is insane. Knocking down Corey Sandhagen, knocking down Sterling, knocking down Jose Aldo, knocking down Faber 3 times, knocking down Rivera twice. This guy has a ton of power, knocking down Ishihara twice as well. Like, that's like almost 10 knockdowns, right? Which is just crazy. Like, this guy's a ton of power. And I feel like he can really pressure O'Malley here, make O'Malley uncomfortable, and potentially land a big shot, or just mixing those takedowns, get on top. And I've not liked what I saw from O'Malley when he's been on bottom. And it's kind of hard to tell because, the times we have seen O'Malley on bottom, he's been hurt. Sukumtov got him down 4 times, like I said, but I think 3 of those times were after Sean O'Malley got hurt, so you can't really look into that all that much. And even like the Marlon Vera fight, he got hurt, so you can't really look into that much, but just really haven't liked what I saw with O'Malley off his back. I think Yan could easily just go out there and pound him out if he does get the fight down to the mat. And not saying O'Malley does not have a great ground game, because I think he does have a really solid, sneaky ground game. I just think Jan's on another level here. Yan has fought really good strikers before. Sean O'Malley's a really good striker, but Yan has fought really good strikers before and had beaten them. Corey Sandhagen's a very good striker, one of the best strikers in the division. Jose Aldo, he's a very good striker as well. He broke Jose Aldo, just dominated him, dominated Jose Aldo. I think this is Petr Yan. I mean, I'm not sure why money's coming in on O'Malley. I don't know. Like, I guess if Yan just stays to the outside casually, just point fights with O'Malley for 15 minutes, O'Malley can win that fight all day. It's just Jan's going to be pressuring forward, landing hard shots, hard kicks, and probably mixing in the takedown. So I think this is Petr Yan. I actually think Petr Yan finishes O'Malley. I think he finishes him second round, TKO, gets on top, and eventually finishes O'Malley in that second or third round. So give me Yan by TKO. All right, co-main event. We have a good one. We have Aljamain Sterling going against TJ Dillashaw. We have Dillashaw, who is 36 years old, 5'6" with a 67-inch reach, 17-4 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Sterling, 33 years old, 5'7", 71-inch reach, 21-3 and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds here. We see that Sterling is a favorite opening up -220, currently -181. Dillashaw opening up +185, currently +156. So this is a interesting matchup because I feel like stylistically this is such a winnable fight for TJ Dillashaw. Like, this is such a good fight for him. But he's 36 years old. He's turning 37 very soon. Early next year, he turns 37. And I don't think he's washed. I see people saying he's washed. I don't think he's washed. Like we've seen 40-year-olds, go out there recently and have success. Like Guido Canetti, he's in the bantamweight division, go out there and get wins. Rafael Santo just got a win, and he's 40, and he's only 36, right? I don't think he's washed. Do I think he's declined? Yes. Do I think he's in his prime? No. But do I think he's completely washed? No, I don't. But I guess that's my one concern. Like, does he have enough in the tank to win this fight? Because stylistically, like, this is a great matchup for Dillashaw, in my opinion. Like, Dillashaw's takedown defense is top-notch. Top-notch takedown defense. This guy's an 86% takedown defense, but what is even better than his takedown defense is his get-up game. Out of his entire fights, TJ Dillashaw has been controlled for less than 1% of the time, which is just insane. Dominic Cruz took him down 4 times, was not able to even rack up a minute of control time, getting taken down 4 times. Nobody has been able to control Dillashaw for over 60 seconds in a fight. And if Sterling does that, he'd be the first one to do it. But Dillashaw is just so good. So good at scrambling, working his way back up after getting taken down, and hard to take down in general. And Sterling does not have the best wrestling in general. Sterling is out there with like a 30% takedown accuracy. So does Sterling get Dillashaw down to the mat? I lean towards no. If he does he hold down Dillashaw? Does he control Dillashaw? I lean towards no. He'd be the first one to do so. So I kind of think this fight plays out on the feet, and if it does, will Sterling have success? Absolutely. Sterling's a great striker. It's just in a 5-round fight, we saw what happened in the first Sterling fight with Jan. Sterling looked solid early. He did get dropped, but he looked solid early in terms of the volume, was putting out a ton of volume. But he just couldn't keep up that pace. He couldn't keep up that output for 5 rounds, and we saw that in the first Jan fight. He was slowing down as the fight went on. He was breaking, and of course Jan landed that illegal knee. But what does TJ Dillashaw do? What is he best for? What is he known for? And that is the cardio, the pressure, the pace, the toughness. He's going to pressure Sterling from the jump. He pressured Corey Sandhagen, and by the way, I thought Sandhagen won the fight, which has nothing to do with this fight. I thought Sandhagen won. It was a close fight, but Dillashaw did a really good job just pressuring nonstop for 20. That's hard to do, and it's even harder if you're the one getting pressure, which I think Sterling is going to be the one getting pressured, going to be working off his back foot, going to be just backing up a lot, which is tiring. And a guy that I don't trust his gas tank in general, where you can't question the gas tank of Dillashaw, 36 years old or not. So I think it's a very winnable matchup for Dillashaw. But like I said, the one thing that's kind of holding me back is that he's 36 years old. Is that I do think he's declined. I don't think he's washed. I think he's declined. I think he still has enough in the tank to win this fight. So I'm going to take Dillashaw to win by decision. I think early on, super competitive. I think Sterling can even take a round or two. But I think as the fight goes on, I think the pressure is going to make a difference. I think Sterling starts to slow down, and I think Dillashaw wins those 3rd, 4th, and 5th rounds and wins a decision there. Should be a phenomenal fight. Can't wait for it. And then we got the main event. We have the main event, my favorite fight of the year, many people's favorite fight of the year. This fight's phenomenal. Just such an intriguing matchup that I just cannot wait to see. We have Islam Makhachev going against Charles Oliveira. We have Islam, who is 31 years old, 5'10", with a 70.5-inch reach, 22-1, and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Charles Oliveira, 33 years old, 5'10", with a 74-inch reach, 33-8, and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. So take a look at the odds here. Islam Makhachev opened up minus 300. He's currently minus 180. Charles Oliveira opened up plus 250. He's currently plus 155. So yeah, I did a separate breakdown of this fight. If you want to take a look at that, it's on the channel, going a little bit more into detail here. But yeah, it's a tough fight to call just because Charles Oliveira is the most dangerous guy in the division. That's not debatable. This guy is so dangerous, not only in the grappling, off his back, on top, but in the striking. Like, this guy has deceiving power. It doesn't look like this guy is landing hard, but he's putting guys out. He's hurting guys. He's hurting very durable guys. Dustin Poirier is a very durable guy. He broke Dustin Poirier and submitted him. He's hurting Justin Gaethje, who's a very durable guy. He hurt Justin Gaethje with the very first punch he landed. Eventually knocked him down at the end of the first round and submitted him. Like, Charles Oliveira is super dangerous. So nobody really wants to take down Charles Oliveira as of late, and it's been a while since somebody's tried to take down Charles Oliveira and had success. Paul Felder was able to get on top of Oliveira, kind of pound him out. He has been submitted a couple times in the UFC, a while ago at this point, so it's been a while. And that's what makes this fight so interesting, because Islam Makhachev is going to take down Charles Oliveira. He's not going to strike with Charles Oliveira. If he does, I think that would be a mistake, just because of how dangerous Charles Oliveira is, and because Islam Makhachev has been knocked out in his only loss. I think Islam does get this fight down to the mat, and when he does, he's going to have to mind his P's and Q's. But Charles Oliveira, when he's off his back, he's not just laying there doing nothing. He's not trying to hold position, looking for the ref to stand you up. He's active. He's throwing, submissions nonstop, triangles, looking for arm bars, looking for sweep. I mean, he's nonstop off his back, and that's tiring. That is tiring. We have seen fights in the past where he has tired out, and opponents have been able to finish it, whether it is by knockout, TKO, submission. We have seen that before. And I think Oliveira's live in this fight. I think he's live in any fight just because of how dangerous he is. But I think stylistically, like, Islam's going to have no problem getting this fight down to the mat. Charles is going to have little to no resistance with that takedown defense. And I see Islam Makhachev, getting on top. And I think Charles is a submission over position type fighter. And I think he does give up position at times. And I think Makhachev will be able to get into a dominant position at some point in this fight. And I think he finishes Charles Oliveira in that second or third round. But you just can't count out a guy like Charles Oliveira. I remember I had Charles Oliveira in his last fight against Justin Gaethje. It was a sweat. Charles Oliveira got dropped twice and eventually came back. And I don't know. I feel like Islam is not going to mess around on the feet here. I feel like he takes his fight down to the mat. I feel like he kind of breaks Charles Oliveira as the fight goes on. And I feel like he eventually gets into a dominant position, whether that be mount and it just pounds him out. And we've seen it before. We haven't seen it in a while out of Charles Oliveira, but we have seen it before. And I think this is the first match in a while where somebody's content to go to the ground with Charles Oliveira, right? So we saw Paul Felder pound him out. Ricardo Lamos submitted him. Anthony Pettis submitted him. And Max Holloway finished him by knockout. He got injured in that fight. Cub Swanson, knocked him out. He has been finished a ton. Donald Cerrone, finished him. Jim Miller finished him. Charles Oliveira has been finished a ton. I mean, this guy is the definition of a kill or be killed fighter. A 91% finish rate, 7 finish losses for Charles Oliveira, and I think he gets his 8th finish loss here against Islam. I think Islam finishes him ground and pound TKO in that third round. Cannot wait for this fight. It's going to be a great one. But yeah, I cannot wait for this fight. It's going to be awesome. All right, guys. Thank you for watching. I was able to make it through the 14 fight card. Sorry if it went a little bit long. Lots to talk about. Make sure you guys leave a like on your way out. Subscribe to the channel. Let's keep growing the channel here. Also, comment down your significant strikes between Charles Oliveira and Islam Makhachev for the contest. And then, yeah, be sure to check out dfsbythenumbers.com. Lots of great stuff going on there. We got DFS betting. DFS and betting. Got the optimizer there. You got betting. I have 2 bets thus far. One that I did place like a month ago at this point. So I've been sitting on this ticket for a while, hoping it cashes for the main event. And then, looking at a lot more spots. I think it's a great betting card. On a 3-fight winning streak in terms of the bets. I'm hoping to make it 4 on a card like this. That'd be awesome. And then just hoping to finish the year strong from a betting perspective, from a picks perspective. And do appreciate all the support. Do appreciate all the likes, all the subscriptions to the channel on YouTube, to the website as well. And it does go a long, long way. You can follow me on Twitter, DFS_numbers, Instagram, DFS by the numbers. And we'll talk to you guys on Friday for the Final Thoughts live stream. See you guys soon.